of Liverpool.
Lords, I beg to move motion A1 as an amendment to motion A at end insert leave out from proposed to end and insert amendment 2C in lieu as printed on the marshalled list. I rise, my lords, to express my profound gratitude to the government and especially to the noble Lord the Minister, Lord Hunt of Kingsheath, for acting to address concerns regarding forced labour in the renewable supply chain which were raised from all sides of your Lordship's House during earlier stages. I've now had the pleasure of working with the noble Lord on human rights issues and mainly around China before and during his time in government, and I commend him and his bill team for the sincere and constructive way in which we have sought to grapple with this problem. I also strongly welcome the statement he's just made in your Lordship's House about the role that will be taken by the redoubtable Baroness O'Grady, who I think will be a great champion for all those who've been subjected to modern-day slavery. The government member before us today stands testament to the worth of parliamentary engagement, and that's the way it should be, and I thank the government again for the progress made, and I include thanks to those members of both houses who have been key to the amendment's progress, and especially the front benches of the two opposition parties. The commitment announced following our debates on the Great British Energy Bill does represent a significant and welcome shift in ensuring that the United Kingdom's green transition is not built on the backs of broken slaves. When I tabled my amendment seeking to prevent goods made with forced labour from entering our renewable energy supply chains, it was with a heavy heart. As many colleagues know, mounting evidence, including from Professor Laura Murphy of the Helena Kennedy Centre, as well as detailed investigations by The Guardian newspaper, BBC and others, shows that forced labour, particularly of the Uyghur Muslim people in Xinjiang, but also child labour in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, is embedded in the production of key green technologies. The BBC's recent report underscores the gravity. At least 35% of the world's solar-grade polysilicon comes from Xinjiang, a region where state-imposed labour transfer schemes and human rights violations are widespread. Sheffield's Hallam University research, along with other corroborative studies, has revealed that supply chains are often deeply compromised. We cannot, my lords, in good conscience drive our green transition by trampling on human rights. To do so would be to substitute one form of environmental degradation with another form of human degradation. It's therefore a matter of great personal satisfaction and a tribute to your Lordship's House and the other place that the government have agreed to legislate to introduce new measures to cleanse our supply chains of modern slavery. It would be remiss, my lords, of me not to pay tribute to Luke de Pulford and IPAC's work, together with the support of Unison, the Anti-Slavery Commissioner, Anti-Slavery International and Unseen. This move must, however, be seen as a beginning and not an end. The Joint Committee on Human Rights is close to completing an inquiry which is likely to call for a comprehensive overhaul of the Modern Slavery Act 2015. We've had, my lords, over 800 pages of written evidence and moving oral evidence from witnesses such as Rahima Mahmood of the World Uyghur Congress. We raised it earlier this afternoon during a constructive session of the Joint Committee on Human Rights with the Right Honourable Shabana Mahmood, Member of Parliament, the Justice Secretary, the Lord Chancellor. As I've often pointed out, Section 54, requiring mere transparency statements from companies, has proved toothless. Baroness May, who pioneered the 2015 Modern Slavery Act, agrees that the legislation must be reviewed and must be reformed. So we should now look seriously at the model set by the United States Uyghur Forced Labour Prevention Act, which introduces a rebuttable presumption, something we raised today with the Lord Chancellor, that goods linked to Xinjiang are the product of forced labour unless clear and convincing evidence can be shown to the contrary. With forced labour endemic throughout the region, and the Leviathan-like Xinjiang Production and Construction Court, an entity sanctioned, I might add, by the United States, controlling so much of the commerce, it's hard to see how else we can manage the huge exposure of forced labour. Embedding a similar presumption into UK law would shift the burden away from the vulnerable victims and place it firmly on those who profit. It would close loopholes that have allowed exploitation to flourish unchecked. Additionally, my lords, we must not overlook the underutilised powers inside the Proceeds of Crime Act 2002. Following the World Uyghur Congress versus National Crime Agency judgment of 2024, it's now clear that goods made through gross human rights abuses constitute criminal property. Yet to date, enforcement has been patchy at best. A more systematic use of those 2002 powers to seize tainted goods would deter bad actors and use our purchasing power to raise the bar together. And to that end, I cite evidence given last week to the Joint Committee on Human Rights by the National Crime Agency and by Border Force. So, my lords, the creation of Great British Energy offers a vital opportunity to anchor resilience into the heart of our energy transition. Its chair, Jürgen Mayer CB, said to me in a conversation yesterday that GBE is, I use his words, entirely comfortable with this amendment. And I'm talking about the government amendment before us today, and quotes, "will put measures in place to prevent slavery." He said, "We are a publicly owned company and we have to live up to that." So we are comfortable and committed to this amendment. We will have to allocate resources and will do so. I was also deeply encouraged, incidentally, my lords, by his determination to bring technology to the UK, which, for instance, will enable battery manufacture which is not dependent on lithium or rare earth minerals. As the Noble Lord the Minister and others have rightly said, this new entity can champion not only decarbonisation, but also sovereignty, supply chain integrity and British manufacturing. GBE should not be divorced from the rest of UK industry. By investing in British steel, British solar and British renewables, we can build a secure future free from dependence on authoritarian regimes and the iniquities of forced labour. We need, my lords, I've said it again and again, and so many others, the Noble Lord Blencathra particularly, we need resilience, not dependency. There's no contradiction between pursuing environmental sustainability and standing for human dignity. On the contrary, the two are indivisible. Our new green economy must not only be carbon-free, but cruelty-free. And those taking to the airwaves to argue that we cannot pursue a greener economy without compromising on fundamental rights are simply wrong. If 35% is from Xinjiang, well, by definition, 65% is not. There are alternative markets, and we need to use the purchasing power of GBE to shore up clean supply. They've already announced a £300 million supply chain fund, the whole purpose of which will be to bring clean and ethically sourced energy to the UK, and I greatly welcome that. My lords, the Minister should think it passing strange if I didn't try to extract a commitment before I sit down. The government amendment seems well constructed to me, but I would value his reassurance that GBE would be failing in its duty, the words in the amendment, to ensure that no slavery or trafficking is taking place in its business or supply chain, close quotes, if it relied upon criminal convictions for those offences in China or elsewhere. Such convictions, my lords, are improbable and would render the amendment useless. I would welcome the opportunity to consult with his department, together with experts, on what meaningful measures the government could employ to achieve their laudable aim. And I also share with the Noble Lord Earl Russell, with whom we've been in touch with one another, about the importance of engaging with like-minded nations in ensuring a comprehensive approach to combating slavery in our supply chains and using technology, a point made only last week by the Noble Lord Rooker, who's in his place, to assist in exposing origins of commodities. Perhaps I could also, as I end, thank the Minister and ask him to confirm that the government will think very carefully before giving the Solar Stewardship Initiative a role in determining the integrity of GBE supply chains. This is in light of the Solar Stewardship Initiative giving JA Solar a clean bill of health following the sanctioning of that company by the US government. It will soon be reported that JA Solar is continuing to source from Xinjiang, and on the basis that the SSI has serious questions to answer about its ability to verify human rights standards. So in closing, I again thank the government for their willingness to engage, to listen and ultimately to act. I thank the many colleagues across both houses who have made common cause in defence of those who have no voice. Together, we've begun to lay the foundations for a green future that is truly just, for people as well as for the planet. And with that, I can assure the House that I will not be seeking a division on my amendment, and although I beg to move, when the appropriate moment comes, my Lords, I will not seek to test the opinions of the House, but simply to support the Government in this admirable amendment that has been laid by the noble Lord Hunt of Kingsheath.
Your question.